Good afternoon, my friends, and welcome back to another video here in the beautiful country of Nepal. However, I'm not actually in Nepal, but we're going to pretend I am for today's video, guys. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about questions and answers that you guys submitted to me on my Instagram. If you don't know my Instagram, it's actually @WorldNomac. So for pretty much every country I go to, I put together a question and answer from my experiences and my moments of excitement, my challenges, pretty much everything that encompasses an experience traveling around the country that I'm in. So obviously in today's video, we're going to be talking all about Nepal, and I'm really excited to go through all your guys' questions. I'm going to answer as many as I can, but I'm not going to answer all of them because I am lucky enough that so many of you were able to submit questions. This would be a 10-hour video if I went through all of them. So I'm going to go through the most common questions, and so they're not in any specific order from like my favorite or least favorite. They're literally just exactly how they are on my phone. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. Let's do this. First question here from Suyash Tajhaya. What's the best thing you liked about Nepal? Love from Pokhara. The best thing I loved about Nepal? That is a great question to start out, and definitely one that's going to get me thinking. Overall, Nepal was so amazing on many aspects. If you've seen my video where I made a small little montage of my experience in Nepal, there was multiple things that really made me attracted to this country, and definitely those things are what's going to bring me back to Nepal probably this year in 2023. And so that first one I'm going to mention here is the culture of the people here. While it's a busy country and in the cities there's a lot going on, the people are so friendly. I've been to many, many countries, and you know, a lot of the times in the cities you can come across like very pushy salesmen, very like just a pushy way of life, buy this, buy that. But in Nepal, I felt really at ease overall. I felt safe. I felt like there wasn't people constantly trying to scam me. Once in a while, I found someone that was trying to maybe make an extra buck off me or two, but that's sales for you. That's life. That's what you'll find in every country. But it wasn't to a point where I was like, wow, I really need to watch myself, you know? So, of course, everything I tell you in this video, guys, it is my experience. I don't want to necessarily say something is completely safe and you have an experience and you say, well, you told me it was perfect. I say that in all videos. But once again, my experience here in Nepal has been nothing but incredible. So, yeah, aside from that, I loved the food there. I think I tried like 15 different meals before I even found something that I didn't like in Nepal, and I didn't like hate it. It wasn't one of my favorite things, but like from the second I tried the momos, the buffalo momos down in Kathmandu, Durbar Square, I fell in love with the cuisine. It was so freaking delicious. And so it just really escalated it. So we're talking culture, we're talking the food, we're talking also the nature. Of course, that's probably like one of the things that, you know, as a foreigner, Nepal is most well known for. I mean, you have Mount Everest, you have all those Himalayan ranges, and just vastly beautiful landscapes. Of course, the person who asked this question said love from Pokhara. Pokhara is my favorite place I've been in Nepal, with it being the city of 7 lakes. So let me tell you, it is a place for everyone's likings. You know, some people are like, I don't want to go to Nepal because I don't like hiking and all those outdoor things, but there is so many other things you can do in Nepal if you're not into maybe climbing mountains or hiking or those types of things. There is so many things. So that was a long answer to the first question. As you can tell, I am really excited to talk about Nepal, so expect some of these answers to be a bit long. Next one here is from Philmart Pictures. Is it safe to travel alone, or would you recommend a tour guide? So my experience is that it was very safe. There was never a moment where someone actually made me feel like my safety was at risk. But the reality is in every country in the world, you're going to find bad people and you're going to find good people. So I would say I'm pretty confident to say that my experiences in Nepal, especially because I walked around so many places. And for those of you guys who watched my series, one of the times I walked from Tamil over to the Buddha Stupa, which was an hour and 20 minutes. So you can imagine how much of the city I walked through. So yeah, overall, like I felt very safe walking around at night, walking around during the day. But of course, as I would recommend to anyone, always share your location, you know, whether it's directly on your phone or you just verbally tell someone like a family member or a friend, someone you can trust, where you're going, what you're up to. That way, you know, even if you don't have someone directly, you know, cause an issue for you, you know, let's say somehow you get hurt because you're climbing or doing this or that, like a self-inflicted injury on accident, then people will at least have an idea where to find you. So like, obviously I take safety very seriously when traveling to countries, because you just never know what can happen. And so that's like my general recommendation. It also depends when it comes to tour guides, what your preference is. Like, as you probably saw in my video, some of the times I went with a tour guide, let's say to walk around Durbar Square or to visit Bhaktapur Square. These types of places, I might have talked to a tour guide for either part of it or all of it. And so it just really depends if you like listening to history, if you like to explore on your own, if you've done enough research on your own. But I'd say, like, if you're an adventurous person, there shouldn't be a problem for you to travel around Nepal without a tour guide. I saw some people traveling around the whole country with a tour guide. For me, I took the bus, I took local buses. I mean, obviously I'm an adventurer. I love doing this type of thing. So, if you like to be on that end of the spectrum, then you'll be able to navigate quite easily. And a lot of people in Nepal speak English. So let's say if you're trying to take a local bus, it's very easy to ask someone around you, which bus is it? Because obviously the bus system can be a bit confusing, a bit intimidating, because they're obviously yelling where the bus is going in another language that probably the majority of foreigners visiting don't know how to understand or speak the language. So little things like that. Obviously I'm rambling a little bit here, but the important point to keep in mind here is that it just depends on your adventure level and your risk level. I don't think, though, that you'll run into any issues. Knock on wood. From my buddy Akram Posh, what do you like most about Nepal? Well, we kind of already answered that in the previous question, basically saying what's the best thing about Nepal. But because I want to reply to your question, I'm just going to say it again. The culture of the people, and that means like the hospitality, the kindness, the general interactions, the foods there are like momos, keema noodles, there's so many. I'm just naming the first couple that come to my head. And the landscapes. Like, those are the three things that immediately stick out to me as the best. Thigh bar, next trip, want to see you in Barcelona, maybe, my friend. Well, maybe it'll happen. We shall see. From Mate de Ferrol Noel. Hello, is it expensive to do all the activities? I would say it depends on where you're coming from, right? Like, if you're coming from United States, if you're coming from Australia, Canada, like these types of places where, let's say, to go skydiving, you'll pay hundreds of dollars, or to go paragliding, you'll probably pay hundreds of dollars, then you'll find these activities in Nepal relatively inexpensive. I didn't go, let's say, paragliding in Pokhara like I wanted to. I didn't have time. But just to give you an idea, the cost was about $50, and I had heard other people that were able to get it for as cheap as $30. And so when you compare that to maybe a couple $150, maybe $200 in the US, obviously that's significantly cheaper. I did paragliding in Lebanon, and it was $50 or $80. I think it was $50, and now it's become $80. So I would say generally, like, to do some pretty awesome activities, it's very fair priced. Like to do a boat trip around the lake. I mean, that's like $3 or $4 US to rent your own like small little rowboat. If you want to rent a larger size boat, you can pay like 10 or 15 bucks, and you can get 8 people on there. So imagine you split the cost 10, 15 bucks between 8 people. So my opinion as an American traveling, and as someone who's been to like European countries, I've been to like Australia, New Zealand, like that's where you're going to find very expensive activities. Nepal, I would say it's very affordable. If you're coming with, a similar budget as, let's say, an American tourist. Of course, that's such a hard question for me to answer, guys, because I don't know where this person is from that's asking this. And obviously cost of living varies so drastically around the world that it's just not an easy topic. But hopefully that sheds a little light on it for you. Katerina 11. Do they speak good English? Yes, definitely. To be honest, I don't really remember too many times where I really could not understand people. Now, most people in Nepal speak at least a certain level of basic English that I encountered. Obviously, there's going to be places where that's not accurate, but like the big cities that I was in, Kathmandu, Pokhara, talking to your usual local salesman, yeah, most people speak English, and if not, someone within like probably 3 meters of you speaks enough English to translate. Nishant.g, you can do a helicopter tour to see all the beautiful Pokhara Valley with mountains. Honestly, I would have loved to do the helicopter tour, and it was on my list. It was one of the first things that I put on my list, and I was actually really bummed that I didn't go on it. But at the same time, I wasn't bummed because I loved Pokhara so much that I need a great reason to come back and spend like another week or two there. So I still have zip lining. I still have paragliding. I still have the helicopter ride. I still have trekking in the area. So we got a very nice plan for the Nepal 2.0 series, my friends, that'll be coming up. So don't get too upset if I didn't do all of the activities because, you know, got to save best for last sometimes. Rohit PGHT, favorite Nepali dish? Well, I'd be lying if I said anything other than momos. The reason why I love momos is you can make them in many different ways. So you can say one dish, but you actually get so many dishes. I had momo pizza, I had buffalo momos, I had Joel momos, I had chicken momos, I had so many different types. And that was literally like only a small percentage of like the variations of momos you can have. They're basically dumplings for those of you guys who don't know. The Nepali version of dumplings, and they will make your taste buds absolutely water. I think I overate them, but let's put it this way, worth it. Nikhil Nagpal 15. What are similarities between Nepal and India? Well, I would say when it comes to some of like the beautiful landscapes you can see, obviously with India also having a Himalayan mountain range as well, or being connected to the Himalayan mountain ranges, you're going to get a very similar yet different feel. Obviously they're different landscapes because they're far from each other, yet you get a really beautiful mountainous feel to it. I would say in India, in places like Delhi and some of the other bigger cities, it's very, very fast paced. And for example, in Delhi, you have very pushy salesmen. Now, India is huge. It has like, I don't know, 25, 26 states. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. And they're varying cultures and like, I think 1,000 or so languages that are spoken within India. So let me just tell you that it'd be unfair to like fully generalize India. So if I talk about a similarity or difference, I'm probably going to tie it to a specific city in India because like I said, my experience is like being in Kerala versus being in Rajasthan, for me, almost feels like two different countries. The languages are different. The dominant religions are different. The landscapes and the climate are different. So there's just a lot of differences within India as itself. But I would say similarities in Nepal and India are also, you know, you can bargain prices. You can find a lot of similar foods, but in the Indian and the Nepali version, like lassis, like that's obviously an easy one for me to go to, but like pani puri, but you see like very similar foods. I don't want to go through the entire list, but there are a lot of overlapping foods, and that part I can find very familiar, yet they make them in their own culturally unique way, which I really enjoyed. One big thing that I noticed between India and Nepal is I did not see anywhere near as many tuk-tuks. To be honest, I don't really remember seeing many tuk-tuks at all in Nepal, or four-wheel or three-wheelers or rickshaws. Obviously, there's different names for them. In India, obviously, like rickshaws and like auto rickshaws are like the number one means of transportation that a lot of the population, including myself, took to get around to various places in the country. So I thought that was quite interesting because a lot of surrounding countries in those areas use auto rickshaws. There was some similarities on how you eat food. So obviously both in India and Nepal, you don't use your left hand to eat, obviously because that's your hand that you use for sanitary purposes. And your right hand is the dominant one, right? So that's similar. And also some of the ways of eating and like mixing together some of the foods in your hands that literally took me pretty much my whole time in Nepal to even learn how to do it. That is, I would say, is a similarity on how you eat with your hands. Also between India and Nepal, I had great experiences, amazing examples of kindness, locals helping me, awesome interactions, great friends that I made just from strangers on the street. So I found that in both countries. Now, I will say I find that in most countries that if you put yourself out there, the majority of people you run into when you're traveling around the world are going to be generally nice people. This one's from Lakshmi Belbas. Keep loving Nepal. Do visit Lukla Airport of the world most dangerous airport. There's a couple questions spread out here. And also do Mardi Trek in Pokhara. There is also one of highest swing in the world, which is situated in Kusma. So thank you for that recommendation. I figured I would read that one. It's not as much of a question here, but it is something that I should share. So that way, if any of you guys are visiting Nepal soon, you can know to check that place out. Definitely Lukla Airport, the most dangerous airport in the world. I think it's because it's super short and it's like in the mountains and everything. I will for sure try and visit on my Nepal 2.0 series. Next one here, IG Sagnikre RC. Now it's time for Kolkata, India. Trust me, you're going to love it. Well, I was pretty close to Kolkata while I was in Nepal. Definitely it's on my list. I actually met some people from Kolkata and I want to visit. but not yet. Hopefully in 2023, I'll also be in India. Rima Suretha, are you planning to visit again? Just followed your Insta through YouTube. First of all, thank you so much. Dhanyavad for following my Insta and YouTube. And second of all, yes, I will be visiting again. I hope to visit again this year. I'm sure I'll be back to Nepal multiple times in my life. I really loved the way of life there. I enjoyed just hanging out in Pokhara. Like, aside from the adventuring and trying the foods, I just generally liked the vibe and the lifestyle in Pokhara a lot, where I could easily go back there and spend like a month. You know, if I want to take a rest, relaxation, just focusing on editing videos, those types of things, aside from the upcoming trips of doing more adventuring. I only scratched the surface of Nepal in terms of how much I saw while I was traveling in between basically just Kathmandu and Pokhara. Obviously, I did a little day trip up to Nagarkot and Bhaktapur, but those don't really count in terms of like a serious exploration. I kind of just did a quick little peek into those places. But I want to do more nature. I want to do more cities, more remote villages, these types of places. My friends Conquest that you guys probably saw, Kyle and Medina, they went to a lot of like local villages. They've spent like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months or something in Nepal. So they've really gotten a true Nepali immersion in terms of their like cultural experiences. So for sure, I want to check more out. We shall see in the upcoming series when I'm there. All right. From Pratikubale 1, what is most exciting to do there? I would say this is a very interesting question because it depends on your preferences. Generally, Nepal as a foreigner, like I mentioned already, as a foreigner is most well known for like doing really cool hikes up in the mountains, hiking to base camp of Mount Everest. Like, trekking is probably the number one, let's say, most exciting thing I could say. It'd be hard to argue that something else is more exciting than that, unless your preference is that you're not interested in like hiking and these types of things. But I would say, like, if you're a foodie, the most exciting thing is like being able to try out so many different types of dishes. You get like such a strong influence of China, Nepal, Thailand, India, all these surrounding countries, obviously as the world grows closer together, you really get such a melting pot of not just cultures, but also flavors of foods. And so, that might be most exciting for someone that's into food, someone that's into like adventure sports. Like, Nepal has it all, like suspension bridges, zip lining, paragliding. Obviously, I'm being a bit repetitive, but I have to in order to answer some of these questions. So like these types of things, like if you're an adrenaline junkie, you'll be able to do so many things like that, especially bungee jumping. It's all over the country. Anka Hadsma was actually thinking about a trip to Nepal. What's the best time of year to travel there? I would say that's a varying question. From my personal experience, I loved being there between like the October-November timeframe. It was like nice and warm during the day, but it wasn't like super, super hot. So like when I was in Pokhara, like going out in a short sleeve shirt and a pair of jeans was like almost too hot, but I was almost perfect temperature. Whereas if you're there in the summer, like it's so beautiful, right? Like things are probably blossoming even more. However, I'm sure it's very hot during that time period. And if you go, a little bit closer to like now when this video is released in January, it's going to be a bit colder, especially when you go to the higher elevations. And so, generally, if you go to the higher elevations, the higher you go, it's going to get colder no matter the time of the year you're there. But obviously in the winter months, it's going to, be colder on the sea level as well. So it really depends on what you like. But if you don't want too hot and you don't want too cold, visit when I visited. So from Farha Sadek, if you can go hiking to Poonhill, the trail and everything in the trail will change your life. So I wanted to read that one, guys. If you're in the area, definitely check it out. Sounds like she had an experience that changed her life, which is amazing. JC32604, do you plan on going to Bangladesh sometime? Yes, look out for that in 2023. Naveed Shahzad, how's modern and luxurious Nepal look like? Yeah, I would say there are very luxurious sides in anywhere you go. I didn't go to the extremes and luxurious places. I stayed in a pretty nice place up in Nagarkot outside of Kathmandu. Really nice services, indoor pool, hot tub, all of this. Yeah, it was definitely a vibe. Don't get me wrong. Pokhara, I could have, but I stayed actually in a pretty low cost of living accommodation option. And then I opted to do some of like the more modern excursions. I took the really nice cable car in Pokhara that I loved, taking up to like Sarankot. And yeah, also, I'm trying to think in Kathmandu. Yeah, I went to like some really nice modern establishments. Overall, the cities that I went to were very developed, very nice. From Farouk Bayat 80, you should check out Chitwan National Park and Lumbini, also in South Nepal. So definitely I would love, love, love to check out the Chitwan National Park. The reason why I didn't get to go is because I was only there for 2 weeks. So obviously I love going on like safaris, seeing wild animals. So I was bummed I didn't make it, but I was like, I can squeeze it in for like 36 hours, but did I really experience Chitwan if I was just there for 36 hours? So I was like, another thing I'm saving for 2.0 Nepal series, my friends. Elia Belhana, Nepal versus Lebanon. Every single poll I've ever posted is the country that I'm in versus Lebanon. It's a hard question to answer, right? Like these are two extremely different places on different sides of the world. So the landscapes are different. The languages are completely different that are spoken. The cultural norms are different. Some religions are the same, but I would say with Buddhism and Hinduism being the predominant religions in Nepal, you don't find much of that at all in Lebanon. And forgive me if that's an incorrect statement, but from my understanding, Lebanon is predominantly Muslim, Christian, Druze, and then a very small percentage of a mix of other religions as well. So obviously that's going to be a big topic in terms of, or a big difference in terms of religious structures you see within inside of a country. So I would say they are extremely different. The foods as well, but you can find similarities in hospitality. People between Lebanon and Nepal, they're really, really kind and helpful and welcoming, and I've had great experiences in both. Kree Pop 91, are you planning on going trekking around Nepal? Well, your question's probably been answered by now because when you submitted this, I was still in Nepal, and now I've left the country. This time I didn't go trekking. To be honest, I wasn't in shape nor ready for it, and I'm sure there's definitely treks I could have gone on that I, quote unquote, don't need to be in shape for, but I didn't want to go trekking just yet. I decided I'm going to save that for an upcoming trip to Nepal. From Omar to Jay-Z, is the local language difficult? Dhanyavad Dai. That means thank you, older bro. You know, I think every language, if you don't put in a lot of work, is very difficult. I didn't learn enough to even have a proper idea whether it's hard or easy to learn. Now, probably some of you guys watching this are like, yeah, you definitely had a hard time with it. But I wouldn't say that I had a hard time directly. I would say for me, it was that I put together a list of words in advance of going. One of my team members helped me with this. Words I should know, and so I was calling people by, you know, like a person older than me, which happened to be disrespectful. I was asking people their name, Timro Nam Keho. That's like a disrespectful way, like kind of a street way or like a slang way to be like, yo, what's your name or something, I guess is how I understood it. Whereas there's another way where you can say, what is your name? So I would say no, like with every language, you got to give it some love, you got to give it time, and you'll learn it if you really want to. From Moin Naislam Janat, how are the people of Nepal? Well, I think my videos probably speak for themselves, but of course I'll speak some more on it if maybe this is your first time watching my videos. The people of Nepal are very, very kind. Like you saw me walking up to pretty much anyone saying namaste, yelling namaste to groups of people, yelling Jai Nepal to groups of people. You know, they're yelling namaste back. They're yelling Jai Nepal. Just a great spirit. And they love their country. I love that about how proud they are of their country. They call Nepal heaven, or they have a special quote for it. Comment below exactly what that quote is, guys. But the love they have for their country is beautiful. I love that. I love when people love where they're from and they're proud of it. It's just such a beautiful thing. So from Anderson ISH, is there any COVID restrictions still in place when traveling into the country? I believe I had a COVID test back in November when I went, but I always recommend you to just Google search what the current regulations are, because COVID regulations vary whether you're vaccinated or not. They vary which country you're coming from, and they're just constantly changing. They're not changing as much now since obviously things have slowed down, knock on wood, but they are definitely still changing where I can't give you that direct advice. You should look it up. So from Puni 8 Gurung, which city you liked more, Kathmandu or Pokhara? You know, it depends on what you're looking for, right? Like when I was doing fast-paced historical like visits to, you know, temples and cultural landmarks and those types of things, I found Kathmandu to like really fulfill my excitement for like fast-paced, lots of food options everywhere, and just like so many different pockets within the city that added like a unique feeling to Kathmandu and really, really good nightlife over there. I only briefly experienced it, but I can tell you, like, I was shocked how awesome the nightlife is in Kathmandu, because you just don't hear about Kathmandu, like, as an international foreign tourist, that it's really well known for their nightlife. But they have like the 52nd best club in the world, so that's pretty badass if you ask me. But Pokhara's like, it's like a very preferential type of thing, right? Like Pokhara, I love being by the lake. The food options there are also incredible, and you get so many different variant types of like modern restaurants. You know, it's very much made for tourism, the lakeside area, and it attracts obviously a tremendous amount of tourism because of that. So for me, I find that to be very attractive when I just want a place to relax and, you know, just take in the beautiful sounds of nature and be super close to the mountains, because Pokhara is like this small little valley right in between the mountains, whereas Kathmandu is also right Kathmandu Valley, but it's still like way more spread out of a city. So I'd say Pokhara just feels a bit more cozy, and so that one is my favorite. But I love both of them. They're both like top favorite cities from around the world. Not number one, but like in the top. And this is going to be my last question, because obviously the video is getting quite long here. From David Masad, did you fly to Pokhara? If yes, which airline? So I didn't fly to Pokhara. I actually took the luxury bus, which was like a sofa bus. I want to say I paid maybe $11 or 1,500 Nepali rupees, and it was a comfortable ride. However, some of the roads were like all gravel, so there was a lot of dust coming into the bus after about 6 hours of riding. It wasn't my favorite experience at that point because of just it being so dusty and hot and warm, and just kind of took a bit longer than they anticipated. But it was great for the value of money, and it was comfortable. You can take like an even more local style bus, or a more like cost-effective economic bus. For less than that, you just won't have those like huge sofa seats that I had on the sofa bus. But going back to your question, I did fly actually from Pokhara back to Kathmandu, and I took Shri Airlines, I think is the name, and I paid $101, I want to say, for the flight ticket. So if you're a foreigner, you'll pay like 3 or 4 times the price as a local to take those domestic flights. I got that information from someone that I was actually on the airplane with. He told me what his price was. So it's quick. It's about 20 minutes. The views of Everest and the other mountain ranges are stunning. So I loved both forms of transportation, but the efficiency of the domestic flight honestly is what I'm probably going to do most times when I'm traveling long distances across Nepal, because you just get more time exploring the cities if you're obviously taking a quick 20-minute flight to get to one side of the country from the other. So yeah, guys, that was the Q&A. Really hope you've enjoyed it. I love Nepal overall. Definitely will be going back, as I've mentioned, like 20,536 times in this video so far. And I am really excited to try out so many more things. Drop comments with other things I missed, or other things that you think people that are considering visiting Nepal should know. I'm very curious of your guys' recommendations. I will be making a list in my notes of all of the other places that you guys recommend in the comments, so that way when I am doing a Nepal 2.0 series on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, I will make sure to take into account as many recommendations as you guys gave me. So that's where I'm going to go ahead and end today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being a part of the Nepal series. Thank you so much for all the comments. I really, really appreciate it. And I can't wait to see you guys in the next video.